What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. 10mm LC Carbine from Ruger, testing continued. The ammunition we're testing today is Dynamic Research Technologies, DRT. Now, this is a factory seconds box. This was sent in quite a while ago by a viewer. We did testing with it. We have up the 10mm ammo test series video. Check that out. The original box said a 105 grain hollow point, but this side over here has a sticker that says 145 grain, traveling at a velocity of 1238. It's one of those odd looking reflective hollow points that has a pretty thin skin jacket on there. I think this is one of them sploder rounds. When they hit gel, I think they go nuts. I'm not sure, can't totally remember. But being lightweight, whether it is 105 or 145 grain, it should scoot pretty good out of that carbine. If it is 145 grain and it's only going 1238, that's not a really good sign, but we're going to have to try it and see. Now, in the ammo test series video, we used a Springfield XDM Elite 3.8 inch and we used this Colt Delta Elite 5 inch 1911. We'll be using the Colt Delta Elite again for a comparison, and we'll see how those velocities and energies measure up to the 16 inches out of the carbine. We'll shoot over the Garmin and hope to catch velocities, and right off the block, about 15 feet downrange, we will shoot through the Caldwell. We have two 10% clear ballistics gel blocks, 20-inch shooter blocks, for a total of 40 inches. I definitely don't think we're even going to get out of one block. You'll notice there's a couple strikes in this first block, and there's still projectiles laying in there. We have to make use of the blocks when we can. If we can get multiple strikes before a remelt, that's always good, because this stuff really doesn't last that long with what we use. We use pretty heavy calibers. They tend to wreck these blocks really quick. So excuse the projectiles that are in there. We're going to get those dug out after we shoot these shots, but I think I'm going to flip the block around. We're going to go ahead and see these impacts from the opposite side. I think we have enough room to work with. Testing explained. Let's get to shooting. All right, I have to be really careful about shot placement. I'll try to do a good job shooting over this Garmin, the 145 grain DRT some sort of a defense round. I can't even remember the name of it again. Sorry about the dinosaur barking in the background. Terminal shock, that's what this stuff's called. All right, I think that's a good shot as long as we didn't come out of the block. We have 1207 downrange on the Caldwell, and we did not get anything out of the Garmin. So boo on the Garmin right now, but at least we have 1207 down there. Let's go take a look. Well, there's our impact up towards the top and separated out from the other one, so that's good. We did what we needed to do. Let's take a look from the side after I get the tape on there, but I'll tell you right now, this stuff definitely performed different than I expected. All right, starting out right at the entrance, we do have disruption, and we have pretty consistent disruption all the way down. It's not severe, but it is consistent. It jumps out of that first 20 inches of gel block, and it lands at about 26.5 inches. I think we had some bounce back. I'll call that bounce back 27.5, possibly 28. Let me try to focus a little bit better, and then let me point at it. You can see the bounce back from at least right there. I'd say right there in reality. It looks a little different on camera. When you come down, it's at 28. So the bullet did not fragment like I thought it would. It is appearing to face forward. I'm not totally sure, but let's follow that track back again. Very consistent, and it does just get a little bit bigger as it goes back. So it has some sort of disruption all the way through, but at the very beginning where it starts dumping that foot-pounds of energy, whatever it actually does have, it's a pretty good disruption, so not bad. More of a penetrator and a disruptor. It's not a total chaotic round. It's not an exploder like I thought it was. We'll take a look from the top after we take the second shot, but let's go ahead and get that carbine on this thing and see what happens. First, before we do that, I'll take another look at these spirals, because camera guy reports on slow motion, you can actually see that spiraling happen. So that's pretty cool. I like that. All right, I have a slate holdover. Hopefully I can get onto the Garmin chronograph this time also. And hopefully I get good shot placement in 3, 2, 1. Perfect shot placement for what I wanted. 1409 out of the Garmin and 1389 out of the Caldwell. That's good. It shows that they're agreeing with each other pretty well. That'll give us some foot-pounds right there from the Garmin and from the Caldwell, so you'll get the two different readings. Let's go take a look and see what we did. All right, well, that definitely increased the velocity, and that changed what happened at the entrance of the block. Now we have that sploder around like I told you about. So you see copper jacketing just going to pieces right there, and whatever else that bullet might be made of. Hopefully, no, I see it. It didn't leave. I see it down there somewhere. But we managed to get a good strike so we can see what's going on. Let me get the tape on it and let's straighten this thing out. All right, so I have the tape a little askew because it's not going to really matter. We made it out of the first 20 inches, but you need to see what's going on. So that thing entered right there and definitely had some chaotic stuff going on. It did its sploder effect. So there's little fragments of what I'm assuming is some sort of a compressed copper or something like that. It's actually really dirty looking. It's pretty nasty. It's cloudy. It looks like there's cinnamon stuck in the block. And then pieces of it go up and down like shrapnel will from the copper jacketing or whatever it is. It has a pretty darn devastating wound track as it continues to go down because it's still losing pieces of itself. I'll try to focus in, but that whole thing has, that whole wound channel itself has like cinnamon looking powder in it. You probably can't see it, but I definitely can. There's a little bit of a batch of it right there. I'm really kind of screwing with the focus, but you can see it's like totally powderized copper in there. I think that that would really work out pretty nasty for a wound channel in general, but getting back to where I'm supposed to be, let's start out at the beginning. We have an initial disruption that was at least 4.5, maybe 5 inches. It did a twist turn. This projectile seems to want to twist and turn no matter what, even if it blows itself up. But then it continued down. It stayed pretty consistent, but then it started to narrow down here by about the 16-inch mark, 17-inch mark. It's starting to settle down. It was diving down, and it did pretty much hit the very bottom corner of that block. It didn't leave the block as far as down under it. It stayed in, and it went into the second block. Then it touched the ground. It touched the ground at 21 inches after leaving pieces of its jacket back there, left a big chunk of its jacket there, scraped the bottom of the cardboard, didn't come out, but left a piece of itself there. So whatever is left of this thing, it is sitting there at, it touched 24 inches. I would go ahead and say with a bounce back, it definitely was at 24 inches. So interesting way that that one performed. The other one is up there, and it did not come apart like that at the very beginning. So it's going to be really cool to get these things dug out and see what the difference was. But we definitely had a totally different effect out of the carbine. So looking at it from the top, you see the first one right there, and then the other one is going to be right there. So we'll follow the top one first. We have to try to avoid the bullet underneath it, that other path. But eventually we landed right there. Not too much different from what you saw from the side view. As far as the one underneath it, it's going to be kind of hard to catch that one. You can see the initial entrance right there, moved down, bounced off the bottom a little bit, and landed, but you can't see it that good because it's so far away. All right, here we go. This is the handgun. This is the carbine. This is what's left of what came off of the carbine. I wasn't going to dig out the rest of the powdery stuff, but we have a lot going on here. So I don't know what you would say about performance-wise. Is this how it's supposed to perform, or is this how it's supposed to perform? Kind of don't understand it. There is something, a different type of material here at the very top of it. It seems to be a cap, like it's an icing on the compressed copper cake in there with a copper jacket around it. So it did not lose its copper jacket out of the pistol. It did not lose that icing to the cake inside there. But out of the carbine, it lost all of that. This copper jacket was left right there, basically the separation of the two blocks. And then you're left with what appears to be a compressed copper type of a round. It's still smooth around the edges, but it definitely started breaking up on the front. It looks like any other frangible ammunition, or like I said, sintered. They call it sintered metal sometime, or compressed copper. Putting them side by side, you can definitely see how much material was removed from the one out of the carbine. And if you look close enough, same thing from the back. You can tell there's a ton of material removed, in the form of a jacket primarily. And with the removal of that jacket, that brings down the diameter of this projectile out of the carbine down to 0.375 inches as it passes through the gel in its final stages. If it were to have kept its jacket like the one out of the pistol, it would be at 0.3995, or almost, well, there you go, right there, 40 caliber. If you flip it around and you measure the most dramatic part of the pedal separation, we're at 0.4725 inches. So these must have actually been 145 grain projectiles, because we are remaining with 143 grains after we lost a little bit off the nose. But once we put it through the carbine and we lose that jacket, we're down to 109.6 grains. If we throw the jacket back on there, we can make up a little bit of the weight and get to 129.6, but we're still missing a few grains. So out of the carbine, we did get some respectable foot-pounds. 640-ish foot-pounds is no joke. That is in the 10mm territory. Out of the pistol, not so great, but we're here focusing on the carbine, not the pistol. I will say that as far as this ammo goes, there's a lot of complexity to this ammo for what it does in the pistol, but again, to the carbine, it seems to be a little different. You have the copper compressed stuff, you have the whatever lead, I believe it might be a lead or something close to it on top of it, that might be the catalyst for this copper stuff separating and disintegrating. Then you have the copper jacket. So altogether, an interesting package. It does perform interestingly out of the carbine. Not impressed out of the pistol. We do have penetration out of the pistol though, so if that's your thing with low recoil, then there you go. That's something for you. All the other information is there for you. Use it as you see fit. Let us know in the comments what you think of this ammo. What do you think about the LC Carbine? How does it perform with these 10mm bullets or projectiles, whatever you want to call them? Do you think this is something that's worth it, kicking up the velocity for things like this? And do any of you use this DRT in your handguns? Hope you're enjoying the carbine testing series. Stay tuned for more. See you at the next video. And until then, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.